Descent into Darkness, Season 2, A Call of Cthulhu campaign. Welcome back to Deathwatch's Call of Cthulhu campaign, Descent into Darkness, Season 2. I am Travis. I will be your keeper today. And I have the usual players with me, so I'll let them introduce themselves and their characters, starting with you, Chris.
Hi, I'm Chris. I'm playing Johann Muller, who is currently hanging out in an insane asylum trying to, relax.
I'm Brandon, and sorry about that. I'm playing Dr. Wallace Andrews, and currently trying to determine who it is that was hired to keep me off this case and why that's so important to him. On my way to a mental institution to meet with a doctor.
And I am Justin. I'm playing Lance Monroe, a gregarious and talkative showman and archaeologist of the occult who is currently obsessed with a mummy in a sarcophagus.
I'm John, playing James Jimmy Whitmire, and I probably wish that I was either in an insane asylum, or at least anywhere but here.
And we will start this session's events with Dr. Andrews and Mr. Monroe as they linger still in the hidden room in the basement of the destroyed Chapel of Contemplation, where the reanimated corpse of someone who calls themselves Orrin Eddy, obviously quite mad from his experience. Now, for those of you with between the two of you, I suppose you're both versed in the occult, but sort of an inroad into that would be, weird fiction of the day or of days gone by, and you can't help but to notice that staple of fiction, weird fiction, has been played out here, and that is to be buried alive. But in those old stories, usually it's a human that's buried alive, and even though it would be quite horrible to starve to death or die of thirst beneath 6 feet of earth, wouldn't it be even more horrible if you were buried alive and you couldn't die, as Orrin Eddy was, or at least claims to be and seems to be? So how much further into madness would a person like that be driven? But there may be more to tell, so I'll open it there. Maybe you guys have thought of questions between last week and now. What do you want to do?
One of the questions that had kind of popped into Monroe's mind is that both the Corbett Journal and Orrin Eddy had mentioned a pastor, Michael Thomas. And so I was going to ask him, so Orrin, do you know how we can find Pastor Michael Thomas?
I do not know. He was at the church after I was enshrined. Until everything went dark, he was here. He was not my choice to lead the congregation, but Mr. Corbett's. I had trained another, Elisa Bishop, but he was killed, supplanted by Michael Thomas, who led them in this blasphemous worship of Zagua, the sleeper of Inkai.
And he drifts off into some muttering to himself.
Do you know what the artifacts were that the other people had imbued their consciousness into, that had also gone through the ritual of Nefren Ka?
Yes, I oversaw many of them up until my own death. Some were buried with their pocket watch, others with various things important to them. It depended on the person. It is sort of a haze. My life is like a shuttered light, a small light held against the immense darkness that recent time has been for me.
And if we do have your pocket watch, how do we ensure that it's destroyed properly?
The artifact is a focal point. It bears no special properties all on its own. It can be destroyed like any other of its kind.
Can we just smash it with a hammer?
Yes, do it now.
Well, Dr. Andrews,
Well,
as hesitant as I am to destroy someone with so much knowledge of the inner workings of the cult that we are attempting to hunt down, perhaps we should let this poor man rest.
yes, I agree. He's clearly suffering.
Oh, perhaps one more question. Oren, we have recently come across a murder. It appeared to be a sacrifice in which the blood was taken from a body and the body ripped apart. Do you know of any such rituals in the cult of the Starry Wisdom, and who may have performed them?
Yes, blood sacrifice was important to my old master. I tried to move away from it, but when I died and Michael Thomas killed Elisha Bishop, he brought it back all in the name of Zagua. Sometimes they would dissect the bodies to better fit through the gate to feed Zagua. Oh, he eats, and he sleeps. I have not seen much since those days, but I had a dream of a man who removed his own eyes. That is all I can say.
That reminds me. Sir, there have been many people who've had these statues of Zagua that have started having dreams of what seemed to be someplace out near Oklahoma. Was that typical in the cult?
No, we were worshippers of the haunter in the dark. Zagua is something else entirely. Something from Walter Corbett's Liber Ivanus. He would not let me look at its pages. He held it to himself. I chose this church because it sits on a sacred line or a holy site, and I thought it would enhance my ability to contact the haunter in the dark, but he did not show himself to me.
And for you who are knowledgeable in the occult, a sacred line or a holy site would be the proto-term to what we might now call a ley line.
That'll kind of catch my attention, and I'll ask him, Sir, are there any other sacred lines in Boston that you know of that we may be able to search for other churches, or that others may try and build churches upon?
I'm sure that there must be, but this was the most powerful one. I felt it as soon as I walked on its ground. It presses at the mind.
Which I'll remind you guys, you felt sort of a tingling sensation at your temples as soon as you had arrived at the Chapel of Contemplation.
Yeah, I remember that.
Okay.
Anything else, or are you going to put this guy out of his misery or seal him back up for another time?
Well, he's clearly suffering, but we did send Whitmire to get people that he trusts to come check this guy out.
Oh, okay. And where were you going, Mr. Whitmire?
If I remember
The SCU.
correctly, yeah, I was going to the SCU to get Mr. Merriweather and people that he trusts.
All right, so the SEU is often, they hold court at the Orrin Private Reading Room at the Miskatonic University in Arkham, Massachusetts. So you already know you won't be able to make it there tonight, as you tried to earlier this evening. Mr. Merriweather had mentioned in our first session that he regretted he couldn't partake in the investigation, but he had to travel abroad. So he's been departed at least for a day now.
Oh, he's out of the country?
That seemed to be his intentions.
So who was it that he had trusted to help us? The guy that came and picked me up. Wasn't that him that...
Finn McCracken?
Yeah, that's who I'll go to.
Oh, okay. All right. So, in your history, he had been following you, and you wonder if that still might be going on. So I suppose you can give me a spot hidden roll.
Damn it. It will be easier than I thought. Can I push that? As the fact that he found me when I was getting, or they were trying to force me to go kill somebody and hang on to that gun, really, I had only noticed him because of the car, so if he's not driving that same car, that would be my push reason.
Yeah, I will say, what could go wrong is you have made a point to let people know that you're not in Boston, and so raising your profile in any way, whether it to be just stand in some very obvious place so that you could locate Finn McCracken, might also put you in an obvious place where those who are looking for you might find you. So yeah, go ahead and push it.
That was okay.
Okay, so yeah, you kind of go to you just pick a street corner at random, and you're standing there sort of looking around, looking for somebody in the flow of traffic who's sort of behaving oddly, or maybe you've seen that car pass by twice now. But what you do see is not the foreign car that was following you last night, but a different one sort of pumps their brakes, and there's a slight squeal of tires, but then their travel evens out, and they go, they travel past you where you're on that corner, and you can see in the cab the hulking shape of Finn McCracken.
All right. So I'll start walking up the street, same direction that he was going. I was trying to keep an eye on that vehicle. I was hoping it will pull off to the side.
Okay.
Or somewhere where I can
flag him down.
Flag him down a bit.
Yeah, it's gotten, quite late. There's only, minutes of sunlight left before night happens. So yeah, you get to where there's less foot traffic or traffic altogether, and you flag him down, and he pulls over with like a somewhat chagrined look on his face as he was trying to tail you again without your notice. But he steps out of the vehicle, which, it lurches to a level state as he steps out, and the weight of himself is relieved from the frame of the vehicle. But he looks at you questioningly, walks around the car and looks at you.
So I'm going to ask him how much information did Mr. Merriweather give you about Peru?
Make a psychology roll. Okay, so he tells you he did read your guys' journals and Thaddeus Grunwald's annotations surrounding them. So he knows everything that was in your guys' personal journals submitted to the SEU for your report.
Okay. So I'll say then I assume you know about what happened at the Corbett house. And then I'll...
he was part of it. He writes that. And I wanted to say with that successful psychology roll, it does seem like there's, something he's holding back on.
Okay. I'll save that for a little bit. We'll fall back or come back to that one a little bit later. But then I'll tell him, how far away did I go from the church here?
Not too far. Well, I guess you were in your vehicle, so
okay.
Several blocks, before you finally decided to stop and get your tail to show themselves.
Okay. I'll tell him, pull around and follow me back to the church. As there's something that we've got to try and deal with there, and I'll give him just a brief rundown of what we found down there so far.
Okay. Yeah, his eyes glint with a little anxiousness, although he doesn't seem as alarmed as just your average normal person might be if you describe the situation to them. But yeah, he, I guess, drives you back to where you parked, and follows you back to the church grounds. So we'll bounce back over to Mr. Monroe and Dr. Andrews.
So, Mr. Monroe, I know I said that we should destroy this talisman because clearly he's suffering, but then it occurs to me that he didn't come upon this condition innocently, and in life, and certainly by the actions it took to get into this position he's in, he was not a good person, so I'm not overly concerned with his suffering. And perhaps we should keep him around long enough to see what other information we can gather from it.
Well, I agree he did break the laws of nature in order to reach the state that he's in currently. It is the moral necessity of good men to forgive and let people rest in peace once their time is done.
But clearly his time is not done, as he cheated to allow himself more, and he spoke of sacrifices that he witnessed and took part in. So He's been here this long. What's a couple more days?
At the very least, let's grant him the brief mercy of leaving a light in his chamber with him.
Yes, we could do that.
Okay, so it's as you guys have, set up a little night light for Orin Eddy and sealed up his sarcophagus, much to his protests, and stumbled out of the hole in which you had been digging, that you see 2 cars pull alongside the road next to the ruins of the Chapel of Contemplation, and out gets Mr. Whitmire and the hulking form of Finn McCracken.
Well, Mr. Whitmire, that took significantly less time than I was expecting.
Well, while I was driving, I realized that Mr. Merriweather isn't even in the country. So, figured if he trusts, what was his name, Walsh or Walt?
Finn McCracken?
Finn. Oh, way off. Sorry. So yeah, if he trusts Finn here to, watch us and keep us out of trouble, then figure he trusts him enough to be able to help us in this type of situation as well.
Very well, and even though I agree that he's a helpful hand, I doubt that even he could manage to keep you out of trouble, my good friend.
You would be surprised.
Finn scribbles in his pad, and the question is, what are we doing here?
Well, there's a not so dead body buried underneath the church. As apparently he was part of a cult that Mr. Corbin was in part of. What was it called, Monroe?
The Cult of the Starry Wisdom. And my good sir, Mr. McCracken, I was wondering, in any of the conversations that you've had with Mr. Merriweather, did he ever mention someone that was a part of the church of the cult, or the Cult of Starry Wisdom, named Orin Eddy?
He scribbles no in his pad.
By any chance, did he happen to mention anyone by the name of Pastor Michael Thomas, other than in the Corbett journals?
Again, you get a hastily scribbled no.
Are you thinking that Mr. Merriweather was part of the church?
Well, I don't know if I'd go that far, but he has been investigating these matters far longer than any of us have, and so I was curious whether or not the SEU had stumbled across any of this information before we began.
Well, I thought someone had to dig this out before, so I don't think that looked like somebody had just filled it in recently.
No, didn't the building collapse after being set on fire or something like that?
Yeah, according to the police report by Detective James Barrister, the building burned down and has been derelict ever since.
Yeah, but we just dug some of it out.
Yeah.
Right.
Don't you remember I brought some tools?
Yeah. No, I remember. You're
mysteriously.
Yes, you mysteriously showing
unasked
up.
For.
Yeah, I remember because you tried to beat us to death with one of those tools.
Yeah, that too.
Yeah. Although,
Sorry
in all
about
fairness,
that.
it was pretty clumsy attempt.
Well, so the situation we're in is we have this corpse down there, and I don't think it's safe to leave it there. We got to take it somewhere, and we don't trust a lot of people. So how do we solve this problem? Where do we take it? How do we get it out of there?
Yeah.
This Finn looks like a big fella. Maybe he can help. Isn't he a big guy?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, he's a pretty big Irishman.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that, my thought here is that good old Finn probably has access to some of Merriweather, or knows some of Merriweather's resources that he would trust more than others. So maybe one with a truck and a few more to help lug this thing out to wherever we can take it.
And where would we take it? That's the question.
Well, Can I do like a luck roll to see if I know somewhere where, like, a old stash house or something?
Not luck, but you could use your stealth skill or fast talk. Those are your smuggler skills. So
Okay. I'll try a stealth.
Could I use my the thing, my financial score to see if I've like read about any houses like on the outskirts of town that could be for rent or something like that?
yeah, that's an option too.
What is that skill called? Why can I not remember?
Credit
rating. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, go ahead and throw one out there. We'll see. Looks like Jimmy's already got a hard stealth success, but 2 options better than 1.
I do have to ask, friends, whether or not it is reasonable for us to dig up a mausoleum underground in a lot that does not belong to us without us being contested.
Well, just to make things clear from what Oren has told you, it may not be that complicated. All you need to do to move him is to move his corpse and the locket. Maybe not even his corpse, but certainly the locket.
Did we find the locket in there?
He claims it was buried with him. I think that's all you guys know.
Yeah, we didn't open it up all the way because I don't trust that he'll not leap out of there and strangle the life out of us.
I can go see if I can get it.
Well, I'm nervous about letting the corpse out of that coffin. So wherever we take it, I'd prefer to take it with the coffin. And as to your point, Lance, to be clear, I'm a doctor, a man of medicine. I wouldn't be doing any digging. It would be you, gentlemen. So I could supervise.
Well, that's the reason why I would have preferred if Finn knows a couple trusting people to help us dig this out and put it up in the back of a truck. We're certainly not going to get it into the cars. But I would like to do a once-over of the room to see if maybe the locket is just in the room rather than in the coffin, if no one objects to that.
No.
And if you do, I'll silently sneak in there and do it anyways.
I mean, I don't object to it. Lance and I were looking around in there and we didn't find it, but...
So when we first opened up, it opened up all the way. Is there any kind of a roll that we can see whether or not we actually noticed a locket in there with the corpse? Or any other items?
You mean like a memory
Maybe like
roll?
an intelligence?
Yeah.
No,
Like
you did. He was buried with various items,
Okay.
You don't remember a locket specifically, but that doesn't necessarily mean it wasn't there.
Okay.
And with the stealth hard success and the credit rating success that you guys had, either option would work. Dr. Andrews, you could secure an apartment or a home on the outskirts of town in which you might store this. And also you had a sort of a personal area, Mr. Whitmire, that you would stash stuff, and it was pretty bulky because, you often had to stash large quantities of liquor and what have you.
Okay. I'd say depending on what our transportation and what the help looks like, which one we can get to soonest is that's going to be probably the decision maker.
Yeah, the moving, Ben McCracken, scrawls down and he's like, I think I could help with the transport. I can't think of anybody here in Boston who I might trust not to remark on moving a sarcophagus, in casual conversation or something the next day, but I definitely could get a truck here to move it.
Okay. Well, let me go look for this locket real quick, because if what Monroe and Wallace are saying is true, then maybe we don't need to take the whole thing, as if we can find that. So I'd like to go ahead and head back in there. And would I need another mechanical repair?
No,
you
understand
to block
it
up. Okay. So yeah, I want to open it just a bit, and I'll end up asking him if the locket's in there. And
All right, well, we'll pause for just a moment with you and jump in, see how Professor Mueller's doing. So, Professor Mueller, you are once again in the Dope Vignettes, the Dope Diaries. Amongst those, you look at your hands as they're sort of bound down by your sides, and you see damp leaves and dirt and an unknown fiber wrapped around your fingers, and then fades to black. And then you get kind of a replay of young Thaddeus Grunwald visiting you, this time with a trail of blood seeping out from beneath his hairline, and then the shutters close. And you open your eyes again, and you see the black-suited, wide-brimmed fedora-wearing consortium member replacing your bedside flowers with a toad statuette, intoning the Latin somnum manducare procreare as he walks backward out of your room. And then the shutter closes again. Opens. Douglas Kimball's there, reading to you from the De Vermis Mysterious like a attentive parent. And this is the passage he reads. Oh, this is interesting, Professor Mueller. Listen to this. The process by which one mind might be transferred into another body. While the old body becomes a hollow dead thing, the mind endures in the new form, retaining all memory and thought. The conjecture states that the host mind is expelled and destroyed. The process is not without danger, as the interloping mind dies if the procedure is failed. Here are written the forms and techniques required to complete the transfer. That would be useful for someone of your advanced age, don't you think, Professor Mueller?
Yes, Herr Kimball, of course. It would be most helpful.
Well, it's right here in the book. When you get out of here, you'll have to pay special attention to page 462. And then our shutter closes again, and it opens, and in this time, relief fills you when a figure comes in the doorway, because you have this idea that this must be your lawyer, and your suspicion is confirmed when he introduces himself as Mr. Barnett. And he even shows you his lawyer's badge, and there you can see his lawyer's gun on his hip.
Okay.
Make a psychology roll.
These dice.
Well, there is something odd about this lawyer, but it's just a nagging sensation behind your relief. But he sits down and he says, Professor Mueller, is that right?
Yes.
Well, I just want to assure you that a person in your state, by Massachusetts law, can only be held for 24 hours, only longer with a doctor's recommendation. So if everything goes well, you should be out of here this evening, which kind of throws you for a loop because you swore you saw the morning sun. We just have to clear up a few things. Can you tell me your whereabouts yesterday morning?
What was the last thing I remember? Just sitting in my chair, I believe? That was the paddy wagon?
Yeah, well, the last thing you remember was your conversation with Thaddeus Grunwald. Or you mean outside of the...
I think that's what he's talking about, right? Unless I've been gallivanting.
Yeah, so it would be... So the last thing you remember was being in your home, sitting in your chair, and then you saw Douglas Kimball on your bed, and everything raced into the darkness, and then you're in the paddy wagon and off to the sanitarium. So he would be referring, I guess, to that morning.
Okay. Unfortunately, I have no real recollection of the morning that in question. Old age, one morning bleeds into the other, I'm afraid.
Yes, the old man's sickness. My father's stricken with it as well. Well, no matter. Like I said, it's just perfunctory to keep you for 24 hours, which, by my estimation, you're over halfway through that. So as soon as they complete the trepanning, they'll probably be good to go.
What?
So that's where they drill a hole in your head.
Is. And I figure so does Johann.
Well, you're distracted for a moment because you hear a rumble as though from an engine outside your window. But when you look outside your window, all you see is the lawn outside the Danvers Asylum. There's no road, but anyhow, the trepanning.
Why would we need to do a trepanning?
To release certain pressures in your brain.
Yes, I know that is why it would... who would do that in the modern era?
It's common practice in cases such as this.
Is it?
Go
I
ahead
know
and give me
lobotomy.
a no roll.
A no. Like, what is that?
Oh, sorry, that's EDU. Sorry about that. I think the character sheet says no by it, but it's sort of small. That's your EDU. It just it represents your knowledge, your character's knowledge base, I guess.
Oh, you're talking about education?
Yeah.
Okay, sorry. Kept looking down the sheet.
Yeah, I mean, they do that along with electroshock therapy and lobotomies. But they don't do it for people they hold for 24 hours. I mean, there's quite a few more hoops to jump through. And also something occurs to you. You're like, why, with that knowledge, Danvers is, between Boston and Massachusetts, out in the country. Why weren't you just picked up and taken to Arkham Sanitarium, which is just outside of the city? Why taken all the way to Danvers? Well, anyways, if you can just sign right here. And he stuffed some papers in your face. Oh, sorry. Here, let me put the pen in your hand.
What, can I get a quick skim of what the papers say?
Yeah, it's hard. They keep, fading in and out. You don't have your glasses on your head, so right? You wear glasses, I think.
Yeah.
Correct. So they're kind of hazy, fuzzy looking. But yeah, give me a spot hidden.
Here it goes. Oh, okay. That's par for course.
You can't really ascertain what the paper is he's having you sign, but you see a lot of legalese, and it could be, just signing that he will represent you in this matter.
Nah. I'm gonna throw the pencil.
Okay.
Go
go
ahead. Oh, I was just gonna say, start kind of throwing a tantrum. Probably start spewing some words in German.
So he carefully tucks the paper back into the folder that he had with him and closes it. And he stands and adjusts his lawyer's gun. And he says, well, this isn't going to look good in the doctor's report. But we'll have it. We'll play it your way, Professor Muller. Have a nice day. And he walks out of the room. All right, so your fit and your thrashing taxes your body, and it seems like you rest your eyes for only a moment when you hear the door to your room open, and none other than Mr. Merriweather enters your room, walking slowly with the aid of a cane, and he settles himself into a chair, the same chair that Douglas Kimball has been perched in from time to time.
Is Kimball there now?
No.
Okay.
He says, old friend, it's bad to see you in such a way. How are you doing?
I'm none the worse for wear, Herr Merriweather.
Truly. Well, go ahead.
Oh, no, I was just more rambling.
You remember when we were talking in the Orrin private reading room, and I related the story about how I had just seen a vagrant wandering around with a stethoscope, using the apparatus to listen to the sides of buildings and trash bins and mailboxes and all manner of things. And from there we ruminated on the nature of perception and the age-old question, do the insane know that they are insane?
Yes, I rather do remember this, Herr Merriweather.
Yeah, and for his part in that conversation, he confided in you because he said that men of the age that you both had achieved understood perception maybe a little bit better because you existed in two worlds. You existed in the world that, you currently saw where you were having a conversation in the Orrin Library, and the world in which you remember, because your memory is such a deep well that sometimes it supplanted reality with those reminiscences.
Yeah. One foot in the present, the other in the past.
Yes, you do remember. But you guys had talked about, recent articles about that had come out at various sanitariums and some of the methods they had been using. And he had said this was the fault of materialists, or, people who lean too hard into objective thinking, because for some reason utilitarianism and materialists go hand in hand, and their moral mandate always boils down to the greater good. And he had thought that was essentially wrong, because humans were objectivity, they were subjective. But so you guys had talked about that and the nature of perception, the nature of insanity. And one of his thoughts is that madness could have been like an overactive immune response for the mind, just a way to shelter the rest of that person's mind from, something they don't want to face. So, Mr. Muller, that's why I'm here. You've conjured me to help you work through a problem because you are not well. Do you understand that, Mr. Muller?
I see what this is, Herr Merriweather. You take me for a fool. Everyone seems to take me as a fool just because of my accents. I speak English better than most of you, and everyone thinks I am a fool. I am not a fool. I am fine. Everything is fine. I have all of my skull wrapped firmly around my brain, and I am fine.
Yes, but the trouble is inside your skull. I know you're lying to me, Mr. Muller. Come on. Are you truly in Danvers Sanitarium right now?
That is a rather good question. Where else would I be, though?
I don't know.
There's always the Arkham Asylum.
Yes, you could be there. Maybe you're still in Widner Library. Surely not. There must be some proof that you left Boston the following morning.
I sent...
Can you think of anything?
Let's see, we'd have a train ticket stub, right? Or departure
Yes, and
slip.
where might that be?
Well, that would be on my jacket, I believe.
So he stands up and he walks over to a part of the room where there's a dresser, and he opens it up, and he pulls out a jacket. This jacket, Mr. Muller.
Yes, that one. Forgive me.
And he rummages through the pockets.
My hands are bound.
Pulls out his wallet, and he comes over to you with the wallet. Is this your wallet?
I'll take a look at it. Is it?
It does appear to be your wallet. It sort of flickers between a wallet damaged by submersion in water and one that isn't so damaged in your mind.
I can't quite tell without my glasses, but it appears to be my wallet. So this appears to be soggy, or perhaps not. I don't know.
So he opens the billfold part and flips through, pulls out your ticket stub, and he's like, here we are. Yes, the 10:40 to Bolton. Is that the one?
Oh, yes, in the morning, right? Correct?
Yes. Yesterday morning. Is that right?
Yesterday morning.
Or is it the day before?
I don't know, unfortunately, Herr Merriweather.
So we know you got on the train from Boston. Perhaps you are still on that train, dozed off as old men often do, which of course means you have yet to arrive in Arkham, but surely that's not the case. You remember the confusion after your encounter with the consortium member, and the concern you had for your fellow investigators. What did you do next when you arrived at Newburyport Station?
I found lodging and attempted to send a telegram to them.
Yes, telegram, that's right.
Yes, telegram.
Here we are. And he pulls out the receipt and the copy of your telegram that was sent to Mr. Monroe back in Boston.
Mm-hmm.
So you're in a boarding house in Salisbury, was it? Dreaming about your encounter in the stacks and a burial mound in eastern Oklahoma? Is that where you still are?
I don't know. I would imagine that a boarding house would have more comfortable beds with less straps.
Indeed, Professor Muller, and what a relief it would be for you to still be there. No strange attacks at the Orrin Library, but then again, you would not have the De Vermis Mysterious, would you?
Strange
and how
attack.
long have you been searching for that tome now?
A long time. That bastard at the library kept me from it multiple times. I am a respectable professor. He kept me from it.
Yes, who is he?
Oh, Let's see if I can dredge up his horrible name. Let's see.
Yes,
if I can.
Dr. Hemorrhage, I remember it.
Mm,
Yes. What man must he think he is that he can gate information from curious minds?
There's no greater sin than keeping information, especially from someone such as myself. I have hungered for information, just the sheer volume of ages and pressing down, all put onto paper, histories, records, all there, and just to have it dangled out of reach.
Yes.
I don't know, Herr Meriwether. I don't know.
You might be on the banks of the Miskatonic, sleeping off an unremembered journey to Arkham under the summer sun, with the De Vermis Mysterious in your jacket, bundled there. Maybe that's where you are. Or maybe you're in the culvert. Remember? You heard that patter of feet and the strange vocal meeping. Perhaps you turned too quickly and slipped, and there you lie now, still time enough to steal away from Arkham without anyone besides that poor librarian to know you were ever there.
Mm.
Is that where you are, Mr. Muller?
It would probably be preferable, Herr Meriwether. I'd have to just wake up and crawl my way out like some sewer rat.
Yes, but that's not the full story, is it? You could still be in your home,
That could be, yes.
reading some passage of the Book of the Worm that so shocked you that all sanity fled. Maybe Thaddeus Grunwald is knocking on your door right now with the notes and artifacts you asked for.
But when did I ask for them?
Presumably the same time you liberated the De Vermis Mysterious from the Orn Library.
That would make sense.
We know perception is a fickle thing. We humans wear objectivity as we do a death shroud. It is ill-fitting, see-through, and signifies the end of our humanity. So you decide, Mr. Mueller. Where are you? Where are you, Mr. Mueller? You decide and wake up.
I am in my house, sitting in my chair. Everything
All
is
right.
comfortable and warm.
We will fade on Mr. Mueller with those words for now and return to James Whitmire as he enters the buried chamber where Orrin Eddy is in a sarcophagus. And you're going to work that open and try to find the locket. Is that correct?
Well, and he wants to die, and we need the locket to do that. We also want the locket to move his body. So I was going to open it just a bit and ask him if the locket's in his coffin. And if it is, see if I can get it.
Okay. So yeah, the lid slides open, and there you can see struggling with his decayed body, but he's sort of moving and his hands stretched out towards you, and when you ask him for the locket, he's like,
Yes, it's with me. It's somewhere with me. My eyes, they are dim. I cannot find it. Do you see it? If you see it, destroy it.
So can I do a spot hidden?
yes. Yeah, he was buried.
Why is that only sending to you? Do you know?
You must have like it's a toggle thing at the top of the character sheet to whisper to GM or not. Did you find it?
Yep.
So you got a regular success with that spot hidden roll. And you do see the locket amongst other items, like a woman's silver hairbrush, a mirror, like a hand mirror, that sort of stuff.
I'm going to ask him what is all this other stuff? Is it linked to other people like the locket is to you?
No, they were the possessions of my dear Alice. Oh, how I miss her. Please, send me to wherever she has gone. Even if it is nothing, it is better than this.
I'll be more than happy to send you to see her. I need to get the locket first. How far down did I see that locket?
It looks like it had, over the passage of time, it just had all those items were sort of set on top of him, but it had just slid down to his side.
Okay. So I'm going to tell him that where it's at and see if he can grab it and hand it to me rather than trying to open this thing more and trusting him to stay still.
Okay. See here. Yeah,
Want
he'll
me to do
fumble
it like
around
that?
with his hands, and then he sort of seizes on it, but it's like he can't really interact with it very well. Like he tries to, but something seems to be stopping him from interacting with the locket.
Okay. Well, I'll tell him that I'll get it, and tell him I'll open this thing up and get it, but you've gotta stay in there for the moment.
Yes, just end it, please.
All right. But yeah, I'll start to open it more
Okay.
till I can reach in and grab the thing.
Yeah,
This
you
is
don't have
when
to.
the machine gun comes out,
A Tommy gun, but yeah,
or
he.
the C4 explosion.
No, he lies there while you reach your hand in to grab that locket, and you get its the chain wound around your fingers, and you're pulling it out when his hand grips your wrists, and he says,
Thank you. Thank you.
So tell him that you'll be at rest soon, and then after I get my arm released, I'll close the coffin back up.
"Yeah," and it closes, and his body remains calm during the process, and soon enough you're outside of the chamber with the lock. Well, you have the locket now.
Okay.
So yeah, the rest of you guys see Whitmire clamber out of that hole that you had dug.
Did you find anything?
I'll get up, dust myself off, tell him that I got it. 'Cause, he seems pretty set on us destroying it, but did he tell you, I guess, how we're supposed to bring him back with it? Is that what we're gonna do?
No, I don't believe we discussed moving him with him. He just wanted us to destroy the locket and end his life.
So that's how he would finally die, according to him, is if we destroy that. I thought it was a pocket watch, but whatever it is.
So, and the whole idea of us trying to move this thing out of here was to both study it and make it more safe. Less chance of someone coming in and open this thing up. And destroying it would at least solve one of those problems. Unless you wanted to me to get rid of it by other means.
No, we're not wanting to destroy him just yet.
Okay.
So to clarify, he had said last time that it was important that you destroy the artifact, because if you just destroyed his body and moved the artifact somewhere else, his consciousness would reform in that new location.
Okay.
So is this where you can
So
piece together that none of Corbett's possessions were destroyed?
Yeah, you might. I mean, I'd given that up a little bit after last session, so yeah, you guys can piece it together.
Okay.
Yeah. But yeah, I'll bring that up to the others, that the corpse down there had mentioned several times that Corbett was a member of this and had had the same ritual happen. From the reports, and Mr. McCracken, perhaps you can verify this, nothing from that investigation was actually destroyed. Perhaps if he can, I don't know what the term would be, come back from the dead through the item that he had, perhaps he is out there and someone is in danger, because Corbett was not a nice man.
Well, wouldn't that mean that his consciousness reformed in the SCU?
Very possibly.
Where his possessions that those investigators found, isn't that where they took it?
Well, Mr. McCracken, do you know where the relics that were taken from the Corbett house exist now?
He writes that they're usually kept in the file room. The secretary would know better, but he didn't have possession of the dagger when the investigation was concluded. The other investigators brought that back to the SCU.
Does anybody know if Mr. Dooley had possession of any of Mr. Corbett's items? Or even the corpse that's down there right now? Mr. Whitmire, did that, when you were down there just now, did he give you any idea of the sorts of things he's capable of when his personality is manifested in a certain place?
No. Really, we just discussed finding the locket in his coffin. But that might be something that we can now get out of him. And he's got every reason to do whatever we want, since we've got the locket he wants destroyed.
Yeah, we need to go down there and determine if it's possible that he can cause harm to living people, even if his corpse is locked up. Like if the amulet is taken somewhere else. And what was the term that he used? His essence, or his what?
His consciousness.
Yeah, we need to determine if he can do anything to the world of the living, wherever his conscious property.
I think that's a good idea. Let me go back in and talk with him. Feel free to come along, though.
Yes, I'll go down with you.
Because I'll tell you, this thing really creeps me out.
Yeah, Keeper, do I remember from any of the reports or whatever if Mr. Dooley had possession of any of the items from the Corbett house? Like, did he say anything in his diary or anything like that with any pictures?
No, his diary didn't mention anything taken from the Corbett house. So are you all three going to go talk to Orr and Eddie again?
Yeah, although one of the things I was going to do while I was down there was grab the second frog statue to take with me.
Okay. All right, so you scoop that up as you guys enter and tuck it into your bag or into maybe the opposing pocket in your jacket. And Whitmire opens the sarcophagus again, and it slides to that comfortable level that you guys like, where Orr and Eddie's corpse begins to stir again, and he says,
What? What is this? I thought I was to be destroyed.
We're working on that right now, but there's a couple things that we need to know, as we think that the consciousness or whatever it is of Corbett is free as well, and we want to know, what are you capable of in that when you're like that? What would he be capable of?
Could he cause harm to living people?
So, to give Oren a little bit of context, I'll mention we had run across a body much like you that was apparently Mr. Corbett, and his body was destroyed, but all of the artifacts from his house were taken to another location. We're concerned that his essence may have contaminated someone or the area that they now reside.
The Mr. Corbett that I knew in life existed to harm people. This procedure allows us to manipulate our remains. It's by a process I don't fully understand. Something the ancient Egyptians had figured out. Also, we have a sense of the structure in which we're housed. We can manipulate it to a degree.
And he sort of demonstrates this by levitating a piece of rubble broken in from you guys digging in, just like half of a brick sort of lifts off the ground and hovers there in the center of the room for a little bit before settling down.
Do you see?
Yes, we see.
Yes.
Once again, I'll just exclaim, fascinating.
Is that the extent of your capability? Would it be possible for you to kill somebody?
Could you take somebody over? Or, how do you...
Maybe.
How do you become a person again? Isn't that the goal of trying to live forever?
My goal was to figure out how to contact my wife, Alice. She had died before me. When I longed to see her again, all I sought was to pierce the veil between life and death. Is that so bad that I should be tortured in this way?
Yeah.
Come on.
Corbett had a book, the Liber Ivanus. He never let me see it, but I suspected that he gained some strange knowledge and power from its pages. When Michael Thomas first came to us, he was just a young man in search of answers, as we all were, but he turned rapidly into almost a copy of Mr. Corbett. I wondered if perhaps he learned some strange method to compel others from those damned pages.
Have we heard of that book?
Yeah, I thought Mr. Mueller had brought it up at one point, didn't he?
Yeah, it was what the church was reading from, and what Mr. Corbett, as he's already stated a bunch of times. I believe we found it at one point, or found notes from it. I can't quite remember. And
I thought another investigator had found it. One of our other ones.
Yeah, it was
before. Maybe?
It was Johann. Oh man, who were the others? The guy from Idaho that Brandon was playing.
Yeah, Vincent.
The guy that you were playing that got knocked out of the bedroom.
Yeah,
I can't remember.
Yeah,
their
you
name.
guys. The circumstances in which you had found the Liber Ivanus, where you were examining the church grounds, and Vincent Newell fell through into this basement area, and there he had found that book.
Yeah, I remember reading that report. Where did it say?
So
it got taken from Johann.
Yeah, while he was staying in his hotel room, it disappeared. And according to the hotel attendant at the time, Mr. Mueller had gone out for a smoke and night air, and when he had come back, the book was gone.
Mm-hmm.
And so was his mind.
Not quite yet.
Nope, that's when it really happened. You've been sitting there babbling in front of that hotel clerk for months now.
With a pair of stethoscope around my neck, huh? Listening
listening into walls.
Oh man, this is M. Night Shyamalan territory here.
All right,
okay.
Make a power roll, Mr. Whitmire.
I think that it's time to murder him. Oh no!
Oh, beautiful. I can't remember. Does this actually is 99 the highest roll 20 goes on its D100, or does it actually roll 100?
It'll show 100.
Okay.
Yeah.
So narrowly fumbled.
Yeah.
1 sec here.
I think this might even be scripted to say that it was a crit fail too, if it was.
Okay, so for the rest of you in that room, after Whitmire makes his last statement, he pulls his 38 from his pocket, or you have like an inside sort of holster in the jacket, or is it on your hip?
Yeah, as it's under the jacket.
And puts it to his temple. And his mouth opens, although his lips and his mouth doesn't move to formulate words. And what issues forth is in the voice that you recognize to be Oren Eddy's. And although it doesn't sound quite as dusty and raspy, but it says, "Please, you must kill me now. Do it or I will end this man's life."
Oh.
Does that answer your question about what they're capable of?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Pull the trigger.
I guess I'll rush forward to try and pull the gun away from his head.
Yeah, same here.
The
All right.
locket, you fools.
Put out some dex rolls.
Oh, it's going to be sad.
Even me?
Did you want to do the opposing one? I guess we'll use your dex. Yeah, that kind of makes sense. It's your body he's manipulating.
Would he push it or use my luck?
You do get a bonus die since you have a readied firearm. It's a little difficult to beat a trigger finger.
Oh man.
So what is that?
That's, I think, because it's a 00 on the other end. You failed, so lucky for them, right? So it replaces your 10 spot. So you rolled 77. Oh no, that takes it to a 7. You're right.
Yeah.
That's a good roll.
So it'd be an extreme.
Yes.
Jeez.
I guess I could try to persuade.
Well, like you
Yeah.
said, it's hard to beat a ready trigger finger.
Yeah, as I lunge, I'd like to shout, "Okay, let him go. We'll stop."
Well, I didn't get. Doctor, did you roll a dex? I thought you were lunging to stop him too.
Yeah, I was. I clicked it.
I didn't see
Didn't
his
show
come
up for
through.
me.
Mhm.
Do you see it now?
All right.
Yeah.
Yes, I do.
I'd push
Oh.
it, but I'd end up pulling the trigger for him.
So you do have an extreme success there.
Pull the trigger.
Do it.
Yeah.
As I don't know
That's
if
what-
I'm
that's what he does.
Am I able to communicate with him at all?
But according to the effect he's using, if he does something that is going to cause you obvious harm, you get one last power roll to get out of it. So you have to beat his
Bam.
regular success, and you did. So yeah, you feel this force that was inside your body, and you feel the electric impulses start to occur to make your finger squeeze the trigger to end your life. And in that last moment, you batter it away and you get full control, and you sweep the barrel away from your head.
All right. As with that, can I also drop the locket and stomp on it?
You may. No
Okay.
damage roll is required. It takes a few stomps, but you can smash it into pieces that way. Maybe even resorting to the butt of your gun or your crowbar or whatever else to
Okay.
grind it up even finer.
Is that thing still alive?
No, as soon as you break it that first time, it seems the animating body just stops moving altogether.
So, yeah, I'll give it a couple extra stomps and look up at Monroe, Finn, and Andrews and just say he was way too dangerous to be left here.
I agree. And if he could do that, what could someone with true malicious intent do?
Certainly,
I could think of a few things.
I think they would be possible of making a young, impressionable boy kill his uncle.
And dismember him. Maybe the force itself was enough to dismember him.
Professor Mueller, you come to wearily, blinking your eyes, but you see, thankfully, the familiar sight of your own home in Arkham, where you had slumped over your reading desk or your writing desk there with the De Vermis Mysterious open, page 462. But there you are. No sign of Douglas Kimball on your bed, or anybody else for that matter. And it seems to be afternoon time, you would say, by looking out the window. What would you like to do?
I am not much for thanking God, but thank you, God. At least for now. Perhaps this is all merely an illusion, but perhaps we can make the most of the illusion. Right, Keeper?
Yes.
Thank you. So, I guess the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go over to the window and kind of open it up, look outside, take a nice big breath of fresh air.
Yeah, perhaps it's your mind playing further tricks on you, but the air feels more real. You know, every sensation that goes along with breathing in nice fresh air is there, whereas certain things were kind of fuzzy in events prior to this. You do see, maybe halfway down the street, the otherwise empty street, a form walking away. Just you kind of maybe recognize him from the campus. Oh, yes, that was Thaddeus Grunwald as he walks away down the street, but then he disappears out of view.
Won't let that get to us. I'll close the window. I guess I'll sit back down in front of the what was it? The Vermis Mysterious?
Yeah. Yes, the Book of the Worm, 462. In the Latin, the heading says the title is The Process on the Transfer of the Mind is the name of the chapter.
Yeah, and I guess I'll do what Johann's always kind of wanted to do, which is begin the slow process of translating it for him, which is because of his low Latin skill.
Okay.
But, yeah, we'll go with that for now.
Yeah, you do remember in your fugue state that Mr. Grunwald had said he left some documents and an artifact at your door that is in the back of your head. Dare you go look?
I think I'll start the translation, and that will, then that will come to mind.
Okay.
And I'll kind of, I don't know, I'll search around real quick, like my desk or something, maybe find my gun, because that hasn't gotten me in trouble yet. And then I'll go towards the front door where the papers are supposed to have been left, or the documents.
Yes, and there is just a tidy bundle of papers in a folder, and on top of that is a cloth-wrapped dagger-length shape. You're pretty familiar with the artifact, as you were around when it was picked up. And it was, there was one SEU meeting where they talked about the ramifications of certain reports surrounding the Corbett house, and the dagger was passed around for people to, look at. But you remember it being pretty unremarkable. But one memory that does come back to you and almost takes you over in the way old men can be taken over by memories is the claim by your fellow investigators during the Corbett House investigation that you were possessed by Corbett and you spoke with his voice.
Utter
And-
nonsense. I have no recollection of that.
It was gas, methane gas. But we will leave this session with that thought bouncing around Johann Muller's head. Thanks for playing, guys.
Thanks, man.
Thanks for
Thank you.
Thank you. So now we've got to kill
keeper.
Johann Muller.
What? Why you gotta do that?
Kill him. Because that guy possessed me now, too. And he hates Corbett, who possessed.
This has been a Death Watch production. Thank you for listening.